D, attending are candidates Wesley Cornwell and Commissioner Lawrence Weekly. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Right, just to re-explain, each candidate gets 1 minute to introduce themselves, and then we proceed with interviews from panel members. Panel members will each get one question. You'll have 1 minute to respond, and we'll try to keep follow-up questions to a minimum. But if we do have a follow-up question from a panel member, you'll each have 30 seconds to respond. Melody Howard, raise your hand. She is the timekeeper. She'll let you know her phone will beep after 50 seconds. So you'll have 10 seconds remaining, and then when time expires, either her or I will let you know. Thank you. So why don't we begin? We'll just begin with lowest in the alphabet. I guess that would be Mr. Cornwell. Why don't you begin by giving us your introduction? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having us today and having this event for us. My name is Wesley Cornwell. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've gone through the school system here, and I'm currently in the university system at UNLV as a criminal justice major, on track to graduate this coming year. So decided to get in politics and make a difference because I don't like what's going on and I don't like how my money is being spent.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lawrence Weekly. I'm a native Nevadan. I am currently Clark County Commissioner in District D. Prior to becoming a member of the Clark County Commission, I served as a Las Vegas City Councilman. Currently, I am also a student at UNLV in the master's program. I will graduate on May 12th with a master's in public administration. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We can begin with Mr. Webster. Oh, well, okay, Mr. Jonas.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank both of you very much for coming this afternoon on a Saturday, but you guys could probably be out walking or something. Anyway, so Wesley, you stated that the reason why you're running is because you wanted to get involved and you don't like the way your tax dollars are being spent. What exactly has Commissioner Weekly done wrong to make you want to oppose him in this race?
The lack of oversight in the county budget, you can look around and see different things that are just wasteful spending. Going through the county budget, there's multiple areas in there that are what I would call slush funds, where they can just be spent however the people over them see fit. There needs to be more accountability with the budget, and I haven't seen much of that from my district.
What specific areas are you going to target in the budget? I'm assuming if you have a problem with the budget, you've read over the entire budget. What specifically are you going to target to reduce this wasteful spending that you put?
Different things like capital improvement funds that are just sitting there, or things like the Office of Appointed Counsel, where there is almost a $10 million supply and service budget in a department that has about $160,000 of salary budget. That's a huge discrepancy of how that money can be spent, where it's being spent, and why it's being spent. So different things like that is what I would target.
Okay, thank you. My next question is obviously for Commissioner Weekly. Commissioner, you are my commissioner. You are also my city councilman. What would, a lot of people talk about career politicians. What would you say if somebody called you a career politician? Because that's pretty much how a lot of people see it.
I would say, Mr. Jonas, that they totally have you misunderstood. I've never considered myself as a politician. I consider myself a public servant. I am one of those individuals that I don't find myself really spending a lot of time trying to create laws to legislate folks' lives every single day. One of the things that I have an opportunity to do is, most of the time, you'd find me out in the community with my constituents, working in neighborhoods, trying to better our neighborhoods, trying to improve quality of lives, not just for one particular part of the district I serve, but throughout the valley. Again, being a native Nevadan, it's really an honor that I have an opportunity to serve.
Okay, and for those of you that don't, you are correct. I see you out in the community quite often, so thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas.
Good afternoon. Thank you for attending. Commissioner Weekly, do you support contracts all across the board and to send things out for bids, even something as simple as $200 of photocopying. And Mr. Cornwell, what is it that you do in your community, and how would you be a better county commissioner than Mr. Weekly?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Howard, for the question. Do I support, putting out RFQs and RFPs? To a certain extent, I do, only because I believe that sometimes in government, we tend to have a tendency of going with the same old thing and the same old people. And when you go out for an RFQ and RFP sometimes, you get an opportunity to see fresh new faces and fresh new ideas, and get an opportunity to be educated on new businesses and give new people an opportunity to participate in the process. I'm not 100% big on making sure or ensuring that staff has an opportunity to handpick, because to me that gives an opportunity for an unfair advantage in most cases.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for the question as well. Currently, I am involved in my community through church and through doing different outreaches such as homeless outreach, which is in my district. I also have served with Civil Air Patrol, which is the United States Air Force Auxiliary, and have done search and rescue with them, as well as managed cadets and helped run air shows and different things like that. Through that, we've done community outreach, such as going out and helping with Christmas in April when we build different things and make home improvements for people who cannot in the community. So through doing different programs like that. Also, I graduated from Rancho High School, which has now been redrawn into the district. And there I was on student council and also helped do many different things with Rancho to help the students there that didn't have the money to get school supplies and stuff like that. So several things.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for coming today. I want to talk about metro shootings, and let's get right out there early on. Everyone agrees that cops have a very difficult job. No one wants to second guess them. 99.9% of them put their lives on the line, do exactly what they're supposed to, are probably underpaid, all right? You don't have to say any of that when you answer my question. That's a given. I'm talking about the 0.1%. This Trevon Cole's shooting, this happened before the most recent shooting. Basically, a detective lied to get a search warrant, burst into this guy's house, eventually cornered him, this is my understanding, in his bathroom on his knees with his hands in the air, and shot him in the face with an AR-15 and killed him. I think this was the third shooting this particular officer was involved in. He's still working for Metro. He still carries a gun. We're still paying his salaries. Apparently that wasn't enough to spur any action or any oversight by the county commission. Now, most recently, we have basically a veteran in the midst of a PTSD attack, out of medication. He's unarmed in his car. He's agitated. He's confused. He gets in. He's shot in the back of the head with an AR-15 and killed. That was not enough for the Clark County Commission to do anything other than, I suppose, in the future sometime approve another multi-million-dollar settlement. Now, the DOJ is not doing an investigation, all right? This is not the Civil Rights Department, the Department of Justice. This is like a community policing, cooperative sort of thing, all right? This is important, I think. NAACP doesn't find that it's sufficient. ACLU doesn't find it sufficient. I want to know what you think. We'll start with you.
Commissioner Weekly.
Okay, so your question to me would be, because
My question to me-
you had a lot to say, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I did. I did have a lot to say. I did have a lot to say, and it seems the commission hasn't had much to say other than approving settlements for Metro killings. So my question is, does the commission plan on doing anything different in the future?
Well, I can probably say, Mr. Brown, that I'm sure you've been following the commission, and by saying that the commission hasn't reacted or done anything. First of all, you understand that we don't hire a sheriff. The sheriff is elected by the people, number one. But number two, in terms of coroner's inquest and that whole process there, the only thing we're really responsible for is somewhat fiscal oversight through Metro Fiscal Affairs. And then we're split between city, county, and then one independent, if you will. On our board as a county commissioner, I was one of those only ones who supported amendments to a coroner's inquest process, if you will. And it didn't take rocket science for me in terms of when you look at many of the officer-involved shootings, that the majority of those folks look just like me. And so, I've had a lot of areas of concerns with that, had lots of meetings with our sheriff on looking at what do we do with that process. But that's a partnership, Mr. Brown. I mean, it's a partnership between not only your elected officials, but through organizations like VIPI that would significantly make a difference.
Go ahead.
I believe that the commission should be asking questions, whether it's a partnership or whether it's independent. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to get to the bottom of it. The coroner's inquest process, as it has been amended, is still backlogged because of litigation and because of issues with it. And now you have the officers saying they're not even going to participate. And that doesn't do any side justice. The coroner's inquest process needs to be an inquest to find the facts and to look at the actions of the officers, and it still needs to be reformed to do that. After that process is reformed to find the truth and not be a play to settle the unrest or a political play, then we can start dealing with passing possibly more litigation that will say, if this happens and this is found in the coroner's inquest, then this is what will happen to the officer. Definitely when there's an officer involved in multiple shootings like you've discussed and in obtaining illegal search warrants, something has to be done.
Thank you. We need to keep this moving, so if we can go to Karen. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any
Passes.
questions.
Mr. Lauer. Rob?
The veteran Stanley Gibbs shooting, Mr. Weekly, was that a lawful or unlawful shooting of it?
I'm sorry.
The Stanley Gibbs shooting, was that a lawful or unlawful shooting by the police officer?
Well, after seeing and hearing and reading the reports that had come out, in my opinion, I thought it was an unlawful shooting. I mean, because it was an unarmed individual who had his back turned, and according to what reports had shown, there was supposed to be a significant amount of drugs or what have you, whether he swallowed them, flushed them, or what have you. That never presented itself. So I was always of the opinion that it was an unlawful shooting.
So that brings me to my question for both of you then. Obviously, the VA has failed miserably in our state to take care of veterans, and as a result, has cost the county a tremendous amount of money and resources because they end up in UMC, end up in police custody. They end up in a lot of situations where the counties absorb the costs. Is it time to perhaps hold the federal government responsible for those costs from the county?
I believe that there is a level of responsibility that we do need to hold the federal government responsible. When you look at the county commission, the county is legislated and overseen by the state of Nevada. And so to a certain extent, we have our hands tied in terms of what we can and cannot do. When there are changes to anything of that magnitude, we have to go before our legislators to have those changes amended and made, if you will. And so, yeah, I do believe that there is another level that we should partake in. Yes, sir.
I would definitely say that the federal government needs to be held responsible. The county needs to reach out to the Veterans Administration and say, look, what can we do to create a partnership and get you more involved in our process? Yes, our hands are tied by the state, but at the same time, you can pass county code that's going to help, and you can reach out and create your own partnerships. It's just a matter of doing it, and that's what needs to be done. And may I touch on your lawful and unlawful shooting comment? There's a great quote from the book The Law that says, if the government can do something that a citizen otherwise could not without going to jail, then the government shouldn't be allowed to do it. And if a citizen shoots another citizen in the back, they're going to be charged with murder. And the government needs to be held to the same standard, and that needs to go for officers as well.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I'm going to ask the basic question of, can you define the perimeter of your district, please? Mr. Weekly first.
Yes, my district is bordered by, I would start with to the west, Charleston to the west, Charleston 95 to the west. Then we travel up westbound, if you will, Rancho, Smoke Ranch to the west, and then we go Craig. We have a tip of Long Mountain up to North 5th, to the north, Nellis to the east.
Are you aware that your district is the highest foreclosure rate in the United States.
I've always made that publicly known, yes, sir.
And what do you feel about banks coming in and perhaps I'm a person that's been in my house for 10 years, never missed a payment, have supported the banks, and then the banks are coming into my neighborhood and underselling my house, the value by twice. Do you think that the county has a responsibility, and this is a question for both of you, do you think that the county has a responsibility to come in and prohibit these banks from doing bottom dollar auction sales? In other words, they need to establish a bottom line bid to protect the homeowners that have already been in the neighborhood. Mr. Weekly, would you support that?
You know, I do, and we've been in constant communications with the banks in terms of how this whole process is being handled. You know, one of the things that people are partaking and participating in is, you know, now we have Neighborhood Stabilization 3.
Mr. Cornwell, please.
In a case of protecting homeowners with the value of their house, the real estate market is another supply and demand market. And
Now then, would either one of you gentlemen support the county giving grants to people that could create industry or jobs in your area?
Absolutely, I already do that.
I would support a grant, but I would support a waiver of licensing fees to inspire them to come here more so than a grant, because I believe that people need to learn what it is to be
Mr. Weekly, you're running as a Republican?
No, sir.
Democrat?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cornwell?
Republican.
You're a Republican. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Since we're short on time, if I could ask Mr. Belinsky if you can ask a quick question, and we'll limit the responses to 30 seconds each, and then we're going to have to conclude.
So just a quick follow-up on his question. Do you support forcing businesses to sell a product at a certain price line, Mr. Weekly? And then for both of you, sorry, it's not that short of a question, but what in your background gives you the kind of understanding and other than your basic education, to be on the county commission? Because I'm thinking, you know, I'm a business owner. I work with lots of business owners that have education, have prior experience, whether it's military or not. And the main thing is running businesses. So have either one of you ever run a business or ever been responsible for payroll? But you know, for Mr. Weekly first, do you actually support forcing banks to sell at a certain minimum price?
No, I can't force a bank to do anything, but what I do, I understand Mr. Fowler's question in terms of when we look at all of our property values today, you know, is that fair to allow a bank to come in and sell your house way below its value? I don't support that at all. Would I support a bank in terms of coming in and either meeting your minimum value of your home? Absolutely. Opposed to you losing money off of your home or off your property value. That's number one.
His question was, I have a house that I owe $400,000
No,
on.
I clearly understand.
And his house got foreclosed on,
Yes,
and his house now being auctioned for $30K.
So you're asking me, do I support a bank coming in and selling your home?
No, do you support not allowing banks to sell houses for whatever they want to sell them for?
I don't support banks coming in and selling a house at whatever price they choose to sell it at.
So you want to have the government tell business what they can sell a product for?
Because of the job that I'm in, Mr. Belinsky, I would have a bank work in conjunction with what I currently do. Now, we work with banks today in terms of selling houses and rehabbing houses and modernizing houses to get them back into the market so that we can help continue to increase homeowners' property values. So yes, I work very closely with banks today.
Same question.
Yeah.
In 30 seconds.
Okay, I do not support the government telling a business or an industry what they can and cannot sell something at. Would I talk to the bank and let it be absolutely known that I don't support the practice that is being done? Absolutely. But I don't agree that the government has the right to tell a business what they can and cannot sell something for.
Thank you very much. This concludes our endorsement interviews for County Commissioner District D.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, gentlemen.